Grand Rising, everyone, and welcome to the Grand Rising Elizabeth Show. And today is Health and Wellness Wednesday. Yeah. And I'm Stacy Scott, and I'm joining you as a co-host to the wonderful Deitra Covington. And we're thrilled to have you here with us today on this beautiful Tuesday morning, and we hope you're feeling healthy, wealthy, happy, and well today. So today's show, we'll be diving into the important topic of processing emotions through the technique of cognitive diffusion 2030. So by the end of our session, we'll hope you walk away with 4 effective strategies to stop intrusive thoughts and overthinking. So stay tuned for an enlightening and empowering discussion. So I turn it over to you, Deitra.
Yes, okay. Yeah, and today is June 25th, 2024, and I am excited. You know, I woke up today and it was kind of overcast. I was like, where's the sunshine? I said, you know what? Coming to the Elizabeth Show is sunshine for me. So I'm glad we are bright. I feel like I still have sunshine, even though outside is overcast, so be it.
Yeah.
But it's good to have you all here this day.
Ashe.
Okay, well, you know what? I'm going to actually do an oracle reading. Well, let me just tell you guys, I just juiced me an apple and I juiced me a ginger root. And this apple ginger juice is delicious. And what's interesting about that is that I went to a store not long ago and they had juices, and there was an apple ginger juice that I bought. But this is much better than what I bought. I said, oh my goodness, this is great. Yeah, so that's my morning drink is apple ginger juice.
Light.
Exactly. Yeah, I was trying to think of a word for that. Yeah, that's nice.
What sort of juicer do you have, Deitra?
Oh, let's see. I have a it's actually Ninja. It's a Ninja juicer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I get it just right at the local what store was that? It's not Myers, but it was it was local store. Not Costco. It was
Walmart.
Bed Bath and Beyond.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay. So does it just blend it up, or does it separate the juice from the pulp?
It takes the juice from the pulp. Yes, it just takes the juice out of everything. Anything is juice is coming out.
Okay.
So it makes a real nice smooth drink. You know, you don't have a lot of things in it. It's just the juice.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is how I got started this day. So anyway, now we're going to do our oracle reading. Let's see here. Here's our lovely cards. Take a minute to think about it. Now I'll pull. Okay, what do we get today? This is called Mau Lisa, Cosmic Power. Y'all can see that. Cosmic Power. Woo-wee. We'll see what we have here. Okay, this is number 2. Mau Lisa. She is the goddess of cosmic power. She is of the Threshold Guardians Temple. And her element is air. Ooh. I'm air too, so I get excited when someone is there. So Mau Lisa is the force of mother, father, goddess. Mau is the moon, the divine feminine. Lisa is the sun, the divine masculine. They came together during a phone eclipse to create cosmic power. Her guidance is, you are in the right place. Release the fear of your power. You are sacred. You are magic. Now that you know this, you can no longer pretend not to. The embodiment is rise up into your magnificence. Love and accept yourself fully to unlock everything you seek. Stop pretending to be less than you are. Your real power has nothing to do with external gains. Cosmic power cannot be destroyed or lost. You were created by the same force that birthed the sun and the moon. Goddess declaration is, my power shines forth from within. You know, as I read some of these, you know, I feel the power inside of me, you know, especially today, I'm like, wow, you know, when it says stuff like, rise up into your magnificence. I mean, I'm just like, oh my goodness, I am magnificent. You know, and to think of myself as such, it just makes my mind grow. Something grows in me. I don't know. How do you all feel about what was read today? Any thoughts?
We're all magnificent every day.
Yeah.
Yes.
We just have to remember remember it for ourselves, and always keep it in our minds so that we don't forget it, because sometimes we don't feel so magnificent.
Right, exactly.
Every day.
Yeah, especially when life is going.
Exactly.
I try to tell you something else than what you actually are. So
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing, Stacy. Well, let's see. I guess we can move on then, if there's nothing else to be said. But thank you for listening. Grand Rising, Joy.
Grand Rising, Grand Rising.
Hey. Magnificent sister.
Right. Magnificent. Yes.
Just talking about being that we are magnificent. And then you jumped in.
Oh, well, all right. Right.
I know, right on time.
Yes. Right on time. Beautiful thing.
Yes.
Right. And I just want to, as we continue going on here in regards to our presentation, we're going to see a presentation on how to process emotions. And that's going to be major, because we always, well, let me talk about myself. I'm going to tell about we, even though it might apply, but I need to talk about myself first. I have emotions all the time, but just learning how to properly process them is valuable. Because we're dealing, I mean, sometimes we have stress and anxiety. So we want to make sure we handle those things that come along sometimes properly. So, but I just want to give you a little background on why I just came forth in my spirit to talk about this issue. Yesterday, a young lady came by. She was doing some work on our in our yard, front yard. She was sitting down, digging up dirt and something I was not in the mood to do yesterday at that time, right? But she was down there working. She was like, I'm relieving anxiety. I said, it was just so profound to me that, you know, she really was relaxing doing this work. I was like, oh, I want to get down there and relieve anxiety too. So when I came away from that, I said, you know what? This is something that really spoke to my spirit, though. When she said that and what she was doing and the way she was feeling and the smile she had, even in doing that work, you know, I was like, okay, you know what? There's ways we can relieve anxiety and stress just by sitting down sometimes and doing something like that. Let's see. And I wanted to share something that Reverend Omani put out on WhatsApp today. And I thought it just spoke to what we're talking about right now. And if you can give me a minute, I will share. It's not long, but She said she saw this on Facebook today. And it's kind of like a conversation between a person and God. But I'll read it slowly so you'll understand what I'm saying. Okay, me. That's the person that wrote it. Hey, God. Then God says, hello. And the person says, I'm falling apart. Can you put me back together? And then God says, I would rather not. And then person says, why? And then God says, because you aren't a puzzle. The person says, what about all the pieces of my life that are falling down onto the ground? And then God says, let them stay there for a while. They fell off for a reason. Take some time and decide if you need any of those pieces back. The person says, you don't understand, I'm breaking down. And then God says, no, you don't understand. You are breaking through. What you are feeling are just growing pains. You are shedding the things and the people in your life that are holding you back. You aren't falling apart. You are falling into place. Relax. Take some deep breaths and allow those things you don't need anymore to fall off of you. Quit holding on to the pieces that don't fit you anymore. Let them fall off. Let them go. Then a person says, once I start doing that, what will be left of me? And God said, only the very best pieces of you. Then the person says, I'm scared of changing. And then God says, I keep telling you, you aren't changing, you are becoming. Then the person says, becoming who? And then God says, becoming who I created you to be. A person of light and love and charity and hope and courage and joy and mercy and grace and compassion. I made you for more than the shallow pieces you have decided to adorn yourself with, that you cling to with such greed and fear. Let those things fall off of you. I love you. Don't change. Become who I made you to be. I'm going to keep telling you this until you remember it. Then the person says, there goes another piece. And then God said, yep, let it be. Then the person says, so I'm not broken? And then God says, of course not, but you are breaking like the dawn. It's a new day. So thank you for listening.
Yeah.
But I thought that was powerful. So I'm going to actually pass it on over to Queen, if you can play the video.
A million thoughts a day, but you don't even notice them. You just believe them. We swim through our thoughts like a fish swims through water. We don't even notice that the way we think colors our view of the world. Or sometimes we do notice, right? Sometimes we notice thoughts we don't like, and then we don't know what to do with them. Sometimes you fight them or you struggle against them. But, if, for example, you think, oh, I'm such an idiot, and then you tell yourself, no, I'm the smartest person in the world. That doesn't necessarily feel any better. So sometimes you get stuck in an endless loop of overthinking, obsessively struggling against a thought, or obsessively worrying about something. But that's not any better because struggle steals your attention and your energy. Our thoughts are like glasses. They are the lens through which we see the world. If you think the world is a terrible, mean place, that's what you'll see. If you think people are inherently good, that's what you'll find. In this video, you're going to learn how to get unstuck from your thoughts. You're going to learn how to look at your thoughts instead of through them. You're going to learn how to take off your glasses, how to look at them, and then decide if you want to hang on to them or if you want to choose a different pair. This skill is called cognitive diffusion. It's the difference between having a thought and buying a thought. This is such a powerful skill for processing emotions and fighting depression and anxiety. If you want to improve your mental health, the skill of cognitive diffusion teaches you to separate yourself from your thoughts. And this can give you power over your thoughts instead of letting them run the show.
Have you ever been deeply hurt by someone? If you have, there's this one human quality that you can activate.
Do you know at least 3 people? If so, then the odds are good that you know someone who experiences mental illness. But if you're like most people, you may feel anxious and uncertain about how to help. Everyone needs to learn these skills, but most people are never taught them. So I built a course with 55 short videos teaching how to help when a friend or loved one experiences mental illness. In this course, you'll learn how to build a relationship of influence, how to set healthy boundaries, what to say and what not to say. And in addition to these personal skills, you'll also learn how to help them access resources that you might not even know about, and what to do if they won't get help or if they don't want to talk about it. You really can learn how to help when someone you cares about struggles with mental health. If you'd like to learn more, click the link in the description, and you can get started today. So first, to understand cognitive diffusion, we need to understand what is cognitive fusion. Your brain is a word machine. It says stuff and it thinks stuff all the time. When you look through the lens of your thoughts, this is called cognitive fusion. It's the problem of being stuck to your thoughts. Cognitive fusion is buying into every thought that passes through your mind. It's when you think something, you don't even notice it, you just believe it. In this episode, we're going to talk about recognizing all of our thoughts and separating ourselves from them, and then selectively choosing which thoughts or beliefs you want to act on or buy, as we say, instead of letting random subconscious thoughts dictate your mood, your choices, and your ultimate happiness. So let me start with a story to illustrate cognitive fusion and cognitive diffusion. So once I was working with a young man who had a lot of social anxiety. We'll call him Miguel. And he had a good group of friends, but every time he hung out with them, he would start to feel really anxious. And then when he was at a party, he would make some joke or say something, and then he would start to worry. He would think, oh, did I say the wrong thing? Did I hurt her feelings? Or if, for example, one group of friends split off into the pool and another invited him to the game room, he would panic a little bit, feeling like terrified because he didn't know which group to go with. And then he'd start thinking, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm getting anxious again. I'm such a loser. And then he'd think, oh, don't think that way. What's the matter with you? Don't feel anxious. Why do you always do this? And then he would just start going back and forth in his head, right? Fighting his negative thoughts and trying not to feel anxious. And if he couldn't get his anxious thoughts to go away, he'd feel uncomfortable and he'd leave the party early. Now, in this example, Miguel was fused with his thoughts in 2 ways. The first way was that when he was trying to hang out with his friends, he got all wrapped up in trying to make his thoughts go away. He was focusing all his energy on fighting his thoughts, and that kept him stuck or fused to them instead of putting his energy into having a good time. The second way that he got fused with his thoughts is that he had an unwritten rule that he didn't even know about. He didn't notice he was thinking it, and it colored everything he did. Let me show you. So when I asked Miguel why he would get anxious, he said, well, I always worry that I might say something wrong or that I might offend someone or hurt someone's feelings. And when I asked, well, what do you mean? He said, well, I always overthink everything I say. After hanging out, I always worry that something I said might have bothered someone or that a joke I made might have hurt someone's feelings. And I just hate dealing with all the drama. So I said, what drama? He said, well, if a couple of my friends invite me to do something with them, but they don't invite my other friend, and then my other friend invites me to do something that same night, how do I say no to the other friend without making them feel bad? So I asked a follow-up question. So I said, they aren't being dramatic, you're just worrying. And he's like, yeah. I said, well, what are you most afraid of? And he said that I might make someone feel bad by saying no. So at that point I realized what was going on, and I said, it sounds like you have a rule in your head that you're never allowed to make anyone feel bad. So he thought for a second. He said, I guess so. I never noticed that I had that rule, but now that you say that, I think you're right. And then he was able to tell me some examples. He said, once I had a girlfriend who I wanted to break up with, but I didn't for like a year because I didn't want to make her feel bad. And I was like, yes, that is a good example. And then he gave me another one. He said, if the food is terrible or it's cooked wrong at the restaurant and the waiter asks, how's the food? He always says, great, even if it's a lie. So this young man, Miguel, he didn't realize he was thinking this rule, right? I can never make anyone feel bad. And this rule that he didn't even know he had was making him really anxious. He had bought that thought. He had believed it without even noticing that he was thinking that way. So in Miguel's case, he was stuck to his thoughts. It was keeping him from being present with his friends. When we buy our thoughts, when we believe everything we think, it makes it hard for us to change. So the antidote to this is learning to notice your thoughts without buying them. You learn to look at your thoughts instead of looking through your thoughts. And you notice yourself as the thinker, the place where these thoughts happen. When Miguel noticed his unwritten rule, he could see how impossible it was, how it was keeping him from having good relationships. And when he was able to notice that rule, it was like, before he noticed the rule, it was like, oh my gosh, I have to make everyone feel good or I'm a bad person. And then he looks at that rule and he's like, oh, that's a thought. That's a rule I have. And he's like, that's not very helpful. And he said, and then he was able to replace it with something more helpful. So he noticed that thought and he's like, you know what, instead of that rule, I'd like to replace it with this. I can't control how others feel, but I value being kind and assertive. So he could see both of these thoughts and he could choose which one was most helpful for him. And this helped him feel less anxiety at parties and helped him focus his energy on being present and having a good time and being kind to people. Now, this idea of cognitive diffusion is kind of a difficult concept to explain, but it's easier to demonstrate. So you've got to experience it to understand it. So I'm going to give you about 4 exercises that you can try to get a feeling for what it feels like to look at your thoughts instead of through your thoughts. Now, this first activity is really easy to do with a negative thought about yourself, but I'm not going to do that on YouTube, partly because I don't want to trigger people here where they might not have been expecting that. So check out the course resources in the full course to experience that activity. And instead, we're going to do a little bit of a milder version of that activity. So for the next minute, write down or say out loud all of the thoughts that run through your mind.
Because the world rejected you, you create.
Okay. Pause
Yeah,
the
we can.
video, write down all the thoughts that come to your mind. I can't write fast enough.
I don't have enough time.
It's interesting how some come to your mind, they keep coming back. You know, it's like, huh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes one thought that for me at least, I perseverate on it and it's there so profoundly that I can't even think of anything else outside of that one thought because it's like, I wouldn't say overwhelming, but it consumes me.
Especially if you're in pain.
Yeah, I know what I'm consumed by. I very thought that one of the things that really consumed me that I'm definitely working on.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, if you're in pain a lot, it's that thought is really, you can't think of nothing else.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay, I'm gonna start it back up.
So, for example, you may be thinking, I don't get this. or I'm not thinking anything. And then you just notice like, oh, that's a thought too, right? And then I want you to take one of those thoughts and put the words in front of it. I'm having the thought that, and stay there for a bit. Can you notice the thought? Can you see it as the thought that you're having in this moment? Now replay it one more time, but this time add the phrase, I notice that I'm having the thought that. So for example, I notice I'm having the thought that this is boring. Now, what happened? Did you notice that sense of separation or distance between you and the thought? And see if you can look at yourself while having thoughts. While you're noticing yourself having thoughts, take a second to open up your awareness to what other thoughts you're having. Is work popping up in your mind? Or perhaps the thought, how much longer is this going to take? Or are there other thoughts running through your mind? And just take a second to notice them, and then to notice yourself noticing them. You just practiced cognitive diffusion, looking at your thoughts instead of through your thoughts. You are a person that experiences thoughts and emotions. Thoughts and emotions are experiences that you are having. They aren't necessarily reality. They're just something that you're experiencing. You can have thoughts without buying them. Another great way to practice this is through the leaves on a stream exercise. Check out that meditation on my YouTube channel. Another helpful way to separate ourselves from thoughts is to name them, like literally. I've had clients who liked using the term, negative mind to describe the spiral of thoughts. Or for some people, they might say, oh, that's an intrusive thought, right? That's giving it a name. But it can also be helpful to give those thoughts an actual name, like Billy Bob. So for example, oh, there's Billy Bob popping up into my thoughts today. And that just means, there's those thoughts popping in, and you might be able to identify Billy Bob as kind of a negative character. So it might say things like, oh, you'll never be successful, right? So you say, oh, there's Billy Bob, or there's the bully thoughts coming in and telling me what to think. When we give our thoughts a name, we're basically saying like, oh, I am Emma, and this is a thought, essentially separating ourselves from our thoughts. So with Miguel, he might be able to look at his thoughts and say, oh, I'm having the thought that I'm awkward, but just because I think that doesn't mean it's true. And then Miguel could say something like, oh, hello, thought. Thank you, mind, for making that thought. But that thought, oh, I'm so awkward is not super helpful to me right now. So I'm going to go back to paying attention to listening to my friend. That's another one. That's another cognitive diffusion technique. It's called thanking your mind. So you just say, thank you, mind, for that thought. That's a thought. Just because I think it doesn't mean it's true, doesn't mean I have to act on it, doesn't mean I have to believe it. Okay, here's another fun ACT exercise. They have hundreds of these, by the way, right? These are all thanks to Stephen Hayes and Jason Luoma and Russ Harris and all the other great ACT developers out there, acceptance and commitment therapy. So here's another one, using singing and silly voices, right? So you take the thought that seems really strong, like, oh, I can't go to that party if I feel anxious. And then you start to use weird voices to say that thought out loud. I can't go to that party if I feel anxious. I can't go to that party if I feel anxious. I can't go to that party if I feel anxious. Okay, I'm terrible at accents, so I should not even try, right? I can't go to that party if I feel anxious. And the basic idea is that when you start to say a thought in a bunch of weird ways, it starts to feel like this weird thing, like this weird jumble of words, instead of feel like just, the water that you're swimming in. Same thing happens if you say a word over and over again. So if, for example, Miguel is like, oh my gosh, I'm so awkward. Then he says the word awkward over and over and over again. Awkward, 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 awkward. Say it with me. Awkward, 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 awkward. And at some point, awkward all of a sudden turns into this weird jumble of sounds. That's a cognitive diffusion technique, right? This is just a word. Your brain is a word machine, and everything it makes up, some of it's true, some of it isn't. Some of it's helpful, some of it's not. It's just a thought. And when we separate ourselves from our thoughts, we can create choice for ourselves. Okay, another exercise that's often helpful is to symbolically put your thoughts onto an object to give them a tangible form. The easiest way to do this is to write it down on a piece of paper. Bruce Lee said, I have a system of ridding my mind of negative thoughts. I visualize myself writing them down on a piece of paper. Then I imagine myself crumpling up the paper, lighting it on fire, and burning it to a crisp.
Watch what boiled eggs do to your body.
Have you ever noticed how you could easily...
In residential treatment, I worked with a whole bunch of kids who found it helpful to make their thoughts concrete by putting them on an object. So I had one client who had really low self-esteem. And again, we were not forcing the kids to do this. They were choosing to engage in these activities to help themselves. And it wasn't about shame or like the Scarlet Letter or anything like that. So this young lady with low self-esteem, she decided to get a huge rock, like a 10-pound rock. And she wrote on it, "I'm unlovable." And when she believed that thought, when she bought that thought, she would carry that rock around. And when she chose not to believe that thought, when she chose not to buy that thought, she would set that rock down. So she made a physical way to represent this idea of having a thought versus buying a thought. Like that rock might have still been in the room, and she might still have been noticing that rock, but just because she was noticing it didn't mean that she believed it. Lots of thoughts are going to pop up in your head throughout the day. Average people have intrusive thoughts all the time. We all might have inappropriate thoughts or negative thoughts or true thoughts or false thoughts. It's okay to have a thought. It doesn't say anything about you. Your brain is a word machine. But if you're going to buy a thought, if you're going to believe it and act on it, make that a conscious choice. One of the ways to do this is to just put it on an object, right? I've had clients who have chosen to carry rocks, sticks, and even horse poop in a bag as a way to represent themselves being fused with their thoughts. And when they're ready to notice them and separate from them, they would set these objects aside. When they no longer need that thought, they let go of an object. Sometimes they'll come back to it, but gradually just practicing, like labeling it and choosing it if they want to, that can help them kind of create that separation. Cognitive diffusion gives you the freedom to ask, does buying this thought make my life better? That's what ACT is all about. It's freeing us to live the life we value instead of getting sucked into thoughts. So you say, this is a thought. It's just a thought. I don't have to believe it. I don't have to act on it. I don't have to fight it. I can let it pass through. So the essential question is this thought helpful to me? Does it help me live my values? If the thought is helpful, you can buy it, you can believe it, you can hang on to it, you can act on it. And if it's not helpful, then you can notice it. You can just have it, but not buy it. It's just a thought. Thoughts pop up all the time, and not all of them are helpful. So for example, fusion with thoughts says, oh, I have to stop being anxious if I want to go to parties. Or with the OCD, it says, oh, I have to make this thought about washing my hands go away. It traps us in a cycle of fighting our thoughts or just believing them without even noticing it, right? With cognitive diffusion, we create space between ourselves and our thoughts and feelings so that they can have less of a hold over us. So you can say, I can feel anxious and go to that party. I can have the thought that I need to wash my hands 20 times, but I don't have to buy that thought. Now, let's just take a minute and contrast this with CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, right? So in section 18 and 19, we talked about challenging distorted thinking. This is a CBT skill. So you might take the thought like, oh, I'm a complete loser, and then you would challenge that thought. You would say, oh, that's black and white thinking. Let's look for exceptions. What would a kind friend say about that? CBT gives you the skill of challenging your thoughts, which is a helpful skill for some people or in some situations. Now, for other people, that leads them to constantly struggling against their thoughts. So with acceptance and commitment therapy, we add the skill of diffusion. It's the ability to separate yourself from your thoughts and to choose your actions. So you'd look at a thought like, I'm a complete loser, and you'd say, thanks, mind. And then you'd ask, is this thought helpful for me? Thank you, mind, for giving me this thought that I'm a complete loser, but this is just a thought. Is this thought helpful to me? And if it's not helpful, if it doesn't help you live your values, then you just let that thought be there. You let that thought pass along, do whatever thoughts do, and you just look around for another thought that's more helpful to you. Now, it's not that like cognitive diffusion is better and challenging cognitive distortions is worse. It's just that these are different skills, different tools. When you add skills to your emotional tool belt, you have more flexibility to find the one that works for you. So, in summary, don't get obsessed with fighting your thoughts, with trying to make them go away, or just worrying about them or reacting to them. You don't have to believe everything you think. With cognitive diffusion, we create a little space between ourselves and our thoughts. We notice them, we say, I'm having the thought that, like I'm awkward or I'm a loser. Instead of saying, I'm a loser, say, I'm having the thought that I'm a loser. Then we can ask ourselves, is this thought helpful? Does it help me live the life I value? So does that thought help me? Oh, I'm such a loser. It doesn't really help me take any action. Okay, I'm just going to notice that thought. I'm going to choose one thing I can do to, I don't know, make my life better or whatever that is. So that frees us to choose what's most important and to allow other thoughts to pass through so that we can focus on living the life we want. The acceptance and commitment therapy gurus have made some great videos and recordings to help people understand and practice this. So check out a few of them. The links are below. Thank you for watching and take care. This video is one skill from my
You know, I would be remiss if I didn't say this right now. We have a counseling practice, me and my husband and I. It's called Conflict Resolution Institute, and it's ACT therapy, just like the lady was talking about. That's why when she was talking, I was like, I hadn't listened to the whole thing before that, and I was listening to her. I was like, oh, that's what my husband, that's what he talks about every day. So I know that like the back of my hand. But he does give counseling, but it's ACT therapy. It's the ACT therapist. That's what he is. And if you would love to be a part of something like that, let me know, because I can give you information about that. Because he does do 6 processes. When you learn ACT, you learn about 6 processes, and those are acceptance, diffusion, just like the lady was talking about. So I am familiar with that. Contact with the present moment, self as context, values, that's very critical, and committed action. You know, so sometimes you do have to take action. So I just thought I'd share that. But when I was listening to it, I'm like, oh my God, this is what we do. Oh my goodness. So anybody have any take on the video?
I was just thinking about with children, but you know, as well with adults, especially something that I'm dealing with right now with my niece. But with children, I'm just thinking when they come and it's, you know, and they're all upset and stuff, and to take something that's a big rock, and just say, hold that, just take that everywhere you're going. And then when you get tired of that, you know, just write that on here, and then you can always put it down, or you can keep carrying it.
Yes, that's a good visual.
You can keep carrying it, or something to say that it really is about just changing the way you're thinking about it. If it's too heavy, you know, does that feel heavy? How does that feel? Let's put that on this big rock. Let's carry this rock everywhere you go. Let's put it right there. And then when you get tired of holding it, then you can bring it back and we can put it down. And then you can, and then give them something light to walk around with, you know, just, I don't know, it's just a thought.
Yeah, but I had a thought this morning.
You know, for myself, sometimes I need to carry that big old suitcase, that briefcase that got all that stuff in there.
Right. And this morning, this earlier when I was talking with Queen, you know, I made the comment to her, you know, that you're sweet. You're so sweet, because she did something. And I said, I had the thought that, you know, I remember that thought. It came through my mind that everybody doesn't want to be called sweet. So I shared that with her, and she told me the meaning of her name. So I knew that she was okay with me calling her sweet. But it's interesting when those thoughts, they're just going, they're moving
so fast.
Really,
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. Aduni means something sweet to have. Which she didn't know. And so, you know, and I was thinking, well, why wouldn't somebody want to be sweet? But like she said, it does bother people when you
they want to be
what
tough.
Triggers people, you know.
Another thing, I've been in security for a long time. And one thing you have to do is change people's state. So you anchor them. And that's what the rock does. It anchors your state of mind. It makes you think, oh, it's in this rock. So say if the kid comes in the house and they're upset, So you want to change their state. So say you start dancing while they upset. You say, hey, wait a minute, let's do this, let's jump up and down. And they start jumping up and down. Then you hit them on their shoulder. You hit them, you're anchoring them. You said, okay, keep jumping them down, and you hit them again. So every time that child experiences you hitting them on their shoulder, they're gonna go back to, oh, let me jump up and down. So we have to anchor ourselves. When I was in security, as I said, people would come in and they'd be mad. So I have to immediately change their state of mind. And I do that by talking to them one-on-one. And it's like, hey, and if it's a one-on-one, they stop thinking like, man, I'm crazy. I ain't going through this. I'm not going to do this. And it's like, well, you either going to do it or you're not going to do it. It's up to you.
Right.
You know? And then they change their state of mind. They're like, oh, okay. And I said, you either going to fly or you're not going to fly. It's up to you. So it's just a matter of changing your state. And it's not, it's not always easy, because you can only think one thought at one time. You can only think one thought. Just like right now, everybody's thinking, okay, Joy's probably doing this and changing that person's state of mind. You can only think one thought at one time, but many thoughts come through your mind and then you pull out what you want to think.
Right.
Like, okay, I'm going to think this today.
Yeah. I remember Rev, when she first started coming on, remember when she was saying about to be exaggerate, that thing that's like she was saying about saying it different ways and stuff like that. And so that so that thing that bothers you, becomes, you look at it in all these different voices that is not you. It's you, but it's not you, to give it, to take away the power, that negative power. So when you start doing characters, like, then that just takes that, you so ugly, you so ugly, you so ugly,
But you want to say something positive now. You do want to say something positive.
No, because that thing, that word, you're saying it just like she was saying it when she said it in different ways of because then you see it as silly. When you're saying it, you see it, it takes the power of, you so ugly, so you so ugly. So now,
I see what you're saying. Okay.
That type of way, you take the power away from that when you exaggerate whatever that thing is. She gonna slap the shit out of me. She gonna slap the shit out of me. She gonna slap the shit.
Right. It just
like
reminds
takes the power. Mama Evelyn.
Being a toddler teacher, their young age in Montessori, learning how to say things. I mean, children are so easy to be changed, that direction of whatever they're going through. You can come in with something fun and they'll be like, ooh, and they totally forget about whatever they were aggravated about.
Yeah.
But it reminds me of the scripture that talked about be as a child or something, even as adults, we should be able to ease. Well, I guess we should be able to change our direction with stuff.
Yeah.
Instead of being angry or whatever, we can easily be changed to something fun, or exciting or whatever it may be. Yeah. So I thought about that.
Evelyn?
So Deitra, you saying this is the sort of therapy that your husband uses with children, like with art, because he can get, he can get very upset about little things for me.
Okay, you can bring them out.
Because he, and she, I think Sheena kind of does that with him sometimes when he's feeling bad about something. Then next thing I know, he's laughing.
Okay, okay.
Because she has, and yeah, he says that stuff about himself. Oh, I'm so stupid. Because and I would like the tools to be able to change that, help him change that.
Yes.
You know,
well, yes.
Yeah, because
one thing, my husband, he's going to do a group counsel with a group of people, a team of people that work together. He's going to work with them in getting them to come, work together, and they work with children too. So he's going to teach them how to handle the group of children they work with. So,
okay.
Because it's important, but children, they get it much better than we do, believe it or not.
Yeah.
They understand.
Where did he get that from? You so stupid. Where does he get that from?
I don't know. Because I never say that about me.
You think of that saying that at
I mean, you're
school?
around children.
When you're around other children, people who may say it to you.
The parents call them stupid. Why are you so stupid?
Oh goodness, that hurts me to my heart when a parent does that. It's just like a parent being physical with their child. That slapping a boy upside the head, or I cringe because I could never do that. I cringe when I see that happen. Or calling a child a MF, or a B, or call a child that. How do you do that?
But they were treated like that,
Yeah.
And then how to handle, I remember one time being down at the African World Festival, right, years ago, down at the Hart Plaza. And this woman, she was treating her child so badly, and what she was saying to her and all that stuff. And where I really wanted to say and just, get into her stuff, I knew same thing happened at a restaurant with a father, and he had his daughter, and it was almost like he didn't like her, the daughter, like the mother, whatever their relationship, and so, but it was what was in my thoughts was that if I say something, that child is going to get it worse once they walk away from me, so like, how do you deal with that when you see, I mean, you can say something, I'm just saying, I'm like in that, what happens to the child after they walk away or you walk away? And then it's like, I'm a king here. So you've only made it worse, unless if it's detrimental to that they physically are bothered. I don't know. Maybe Kay, maybe you got your hand on, maybe you can address that, because it was like people in the store and they cussing the kids out and stuff like that. You're not going to be with them. You're just in the moment right then and there. And if they don't care about what they say in public, then what are they doing to those children
in private? Oh my God.
Right. Because they'll do it right in public. They do not care. And the kid, you can see the fear. So something else is going on. Besides just calling the police or something, what do you do? Yes, Kay. Go ahead, baby. Unmute yourself.
Yes, Grand Rising, everybody. It is a touchy subject, especially for people that are in early childhood and they see this out in the public and you want to say something, but like you said, Queen Aduni, what is that going to do for the child? The way I react to it, I kind of like the speaker was saying, and like what you guys were just talking about, I kind of might make it like a fun thing, even though it's not a fun thing happening, because with the devil, like, oh my God, mommy, do you really mean that? Like, your mom. I would say something like that, like, Mom. I'm like, oh my God, Mom, that hurt my feelings, like, like that. And then they kind of, sometimes they come to themselves, sometimes they just, give me the mean mug and whatever, but it causes awareness to them because sometimes I think they do it so often they don't even realize it, that the damage that it's doing. And me being the comical person that I am, I kind of just use that and say, well, like, me, really? You really mean that? Or dad, like, oh my goodness, daddy. Oh, like that. And it's just, with a smile on my face and doing it. And then they kind of like realize like, oh yeah, other people are listening to me, or oh, yeah, this is happening for real out here in public. It kind of brings awareness to that. But it's just really a touchy subject. And like you say, you don't know. And some people I know, one time I do, somebody was telling me, and just mind your own business or whatever, or something like that. And then, but at least you said something.
Exactly.
And if it's really bad, people that, and I think, is it Evelyn? I know you said you work at Montessori or your kids went to Montessori.
Deitra.
Oh, that's
Deitra.
Sister Deitra, yes. Well, people that we are mandated reporters.
That's
so
right. That's
we're
true.
mandated reporters. So it's like we don't have a choice. But when we see it, we have to, this whole thing about see something, say something, we are, especially if it's in our schools, but it's really not just in the school, it's wherever, because we have to protect our kids. We have to protect them at all costs.
That's right.
They need the advocates. And it's a shame that we have to protect them from their parents sometimes.
I know.
And I don't know if I mentioned this before, but I work with foster kids through a camp that I'm on the board of directors of the Royal Family Kids Camp. And we are, we give foster kids that have been removed from their homes and are in the foster care system 1 week of camp. And then we also have just started a few years ago, a mentor camp that kind of goes on throughout the year. If they want to sign up for the mentor camp, where they would come and once a week to a location and they're matched up with kind of like the old days, if you remember the Big Brothers, Big Sister program.
Yes.
It's kind of like that, but we do it as a group and do outings and things like that. So
that sounds fun.
Yeah, it is. And I kind of laxed on my game this year, but I really recruit people all the time, especially people of color, because the camp that I'm affiliated with is in Northville, Michigan, but the kids that we serve are in Wayne County, Michigan.
Okay.
And if you know Wayne County, that's majority Detroit, and stuff. So most of the kids, I would say 95% of the children are African American children.
Okay.
But the volunteers are not. It's just a handful of African American volunteers. And I probably say, we just had our training a couple of weeks ago. I was looking around. It's a little bit more. We're getting a little bit more diverse, but for the longest, it was just me and one of my other people, and then my choir. I made them. How I came about this camp is that I direct a sign language choir, and someone saw us and they wanted us to come to their fundraiser that they were having for the camp and be on the program for the fundraiser. And then when they showed the movie, the promo about the camp, I was really impressed. And I said, we want to do more for this camp than just do this. What else? And they said, oh, can you come to the camp and do what you just did for the kids, the sign language songs for the kids. Nice. So we came to the camp. When we went to that camp and I looked around, I saw all those kids having the best time in their life, doing everything. They're there for a week. Some of them have never even been away from homes other than the foster home they're in, or
right.
They do camping, they do fishing, they do archery, they do everything that you would do at a camp, and canoeing and swimming and all of that stuff. They were having the best time in their life. And I was like, these kids are really having a good time. Then I looked around at the staff. I didn't see nobody. I saw one person that looked like the kids that was African American. And I walked up to her. I said, where are your people? Why are you the only one here? And she said, she didn't know. So I told my choir, who was at that time predominantly African American. I said, next year we're coming back as counselors, drama team member, whatever they need us to do. We just need to be here. We need to be at the camp, because what the Lord had dropped in my spirit at that time, these kids are my kids, and these kids are their, this is what's going through their mind when they're at this camp. So people that look like me, my own parents, and people that look like me, they treat me bad. They abuse me. They neglect me to the point where I have to be taken from my home and to put into another home. But when I get here to this camp, people that don't look like me, they love on me. They teach me about the Bible. They give me gifts. They give me this wonderful experience. And I'm like, no, they need to see people that look like them doing good things too.
Exactly. What's the name of the camp again?
It's called Royal Family Kids Camp, and it's RFKC. If you go online, it's rfkc.org.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, just look it up and do the one, like I say, we have 3 in Michigan, and the one I'm working with is in Northville Township. And yeah.
Oh, that's great. I applaud the work you're doing. That's good.
Thank you. But we need more workers.
Yes.
many hands make a load light.
Yeah.
That's right.
Right. Oh.
This has been a wonderful show. Thank you all for attending. Thank you, Stacy. You want to close us out?
Okay, never closed out before, but okay.
Okay, that's all right. We'll help you through it.
All right, let's give ourselves a hug. Nice hug. Thank God for this Tuesday and this whole cognitive diffusion thing.
Right.
And let's sprinkle that love out in the world.
Give the world a hug.
The world is a hug. Yeah, there we go.
All them little children out there.
Yeah.
And then we sprinkle everything that's good.
Yeah.
Positive.
Okay, thank you.
Everybody have a great day.
Peace out.
Peace.